Welcome to Foto Dojo, where you can explore making comics, cartoons, characters, stories, and imaginary worlds. With me, Adam Fotos, creator of Dragon and Goat, a comic about a dragon and a goat. Plus, he's a professor of humanities and friend of huge manatees. Okay, so the next step is going to be using the color wheel to figure out some color schemes that you could use in your painting. And so I've got the color schemes here. And from here, you're going to be trying to decide on 3 different colors to use within your painting. Now, for paintings, you can always use like the various shades and tints of the colors that you choose. This is a nice sort of like test sheet that you can use. I'll have this available on YouTube if you want to download it so you can do your own test. But I've got all the different color schemes here so that we can see how those work. Now, the first one is monochromatic. This is one that you're probably going to see Pablo Picasso's Blue Guitar, where he's just using all blues, though the guitar, I guess, is sort of an orangish brown with a blue glaze over top of it. But monochromatic means basically we're just using one color. So if I start with blue for this one, then with monochromatic, I might start with sort of a blue here around the edge. And then I would change the intensity of the color so I could use a lot more pigment by mixing that in more thoroughly and less water. And then I could do maybe a sort of more intense blue or darker blue in the center. And then I could do like a really light blue on the outer edge, and so I could do that. It's a little too, there we go, so it's a little bit lighter. So then we have like a gradual progression, and then I can always add, over one of them to make it more intense like that. This one doesn't seem as sort of intense as I want it compared to the middle one. And so I'm going to work in that way. So on the next one, I'm going to use maybe blues, but I'll change which one is where. So I'm going to start with maybe that intense blue on the outer edge. And if your watercolor set has multiple blues, keep in mind you can use those blues and still be monochromatic. So I could take and use this like phthalo blue here at the end. It's getting it wet for the first time, so it's going to be very intense. So I'm going to lighten it. And then go with a really light blue. Now, if you're not careful and you're using like pretty wet paint, painting different colors, as you get to the edges and those different areas of color hit each other on the paper, they may bleed into each other. So it's not a bad idea to let them sort of dry in between here. And then, let's see, I'm going to go for another blue here in the center. So an intense version of that sort of cerulean blue. So these are, 2 different colors or sort of arrangements of the same like monochromatic blue color scheme. But introducing this blue, gives you a little bit more contrast. So along these lines, you can finish that with different colors. So if I wanted to go with like red or violet, I could experiment with different combinations of light and dark. So if I'm going to do, let's go to a red, because you can also change the shades and the tints. So I'm going to go with a sort of medium red around this edge. And then I'm going to add a bit of that shaded green to it. So then I've got like a darker red back and really get a intense red with a lot of pigment, very little water to get in the center. Again, if you need, sort of multiple washes in watercolor, that's going to increase the intensity of the color. So just keep that in mind. Right, and then we could sort of switch. Maybe I gonna introduce. Just want to do a slightly more like alizarin crimson kind of cooler red on the outer perimeter. And then I'll go for the darker in the center. And paint, operates, or how we see operates on contrast, like what we see in terms of contrast of lights and darks. And so the intensity of the color is going to change based off of what colors are around it or the value of it. It's all relative. So if you have a really sort of dark tone next to a medium tone, that medium tone may seem lighter than if it were next to a sort of darker tone. I think that's right. So now next we have complementary colors, and so complementary colors are colors that are across from each other on the color wheel. So the first ones we talked about were red and green, so we can start with red and green. And when you all do this, I fully expect you not to copy the order that I'm doing it, but just come up with your own combinations. This is a good opportunity to find what colors you respond to, what do you like, what's your palette. I'm going to use this pre-made green. I usually like making my own greens because I feel like I do a better job. Okay, so I've got that green, and then I'm going to take and add that green to some red, and that'll give me sort of darker value. Let's go a little bit darker, more neutral, I guess we could say too. And you'll notice that contrast is going to be enhanced in this way. Okay, so I've got the complementary colors in one shade. So you can do the two complementary colors in a shade, or you can do the two complementary colors and a tint. So I'm going to go with blue next. So let's do maybe blue in the center. And then the complementary color is going to be orange. So I'm going to liven up this orange, add some water to it. And when you have these two complementary colors next to each other, you'll notice that it really sort of changes how they look. So I'll do the exact same colors in a different order, the next one. So notice how the orange and the blue really fight against each other. I'm going to do the orange here on the outer side, and here. And these swatches, you can just change the order in that way. That works. So I'm going to do the orange here, and then a little bit of that blue. Again, in the same respect, the blue and the orange, they go a long way. Now, what's cool here is that you get this like sort of nice green, because I've got a lot of that blue. If I add more of the orange, that'll balance that out. So that'll give me a slightly different, more orangish, neutral green. And I'll use that one. Let's do that one here. So do another wash on top of it, it becomes more intense. And then I'll do that blue in the center again, just so you can kind of see that. on this one. So same colors, but the placement is important, and then also how you change that hue or the color that you're getting from when you actually mix them. And so then the final color, our final set of complementary colors, is going to be purple and yellow. So violet and yellow, and for that one, let's do the violet here. Again, I'm using the pre-mixed one here. Got a lot of water on the page there, so I don't know. They may mix, which is okay. But I'm going to leave maybe a little bit of the gap of the white paper in between. Just a little bit. Okay, and you can see, all right, the purple and the yellow are very vibrant next to each other. If they're at the same intensity, they're going to have a lot of contrast. And then if we mix, so yellow and purple, we'll see what that looks like. We'll do that on the outer edge here. So very cool. So a nice sort of neutral brown. So we're getting complementary colors too. Really great for like doing skin tones. So we've got a little bit sort of darker here too. And then if you're doing like skin tones, like for portraits, you can go over it with like a blue or a purple for shadows. Once it's dry, and it's going to give you a really nice sort of washed look. Split complementary is next, and split complementary is where we're going to be looking at colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, and then split. So if we're looking at red, the split complementary of red is going to be not green, but yellow green and blue green. So it's the two adjacent colors next to the exact complementary color. So it's a pretty cool combo. These offer a lot of contrast and a harmony that you can play with. So, and these are really fun to look for in advertising if you're looking at, you know, different ads that are using vibrant color combinations, and, you know, can you identify, looking at your color wheel, which ones are being used. So I'm going to use my green, and then we'll use, like, make a quick yellow green. So see, I'm being pretty lazy here, mixing those on the palette. I can always run into problems later, but I think we'll be all right. So then red, then I'm going to pop that red, and then come around here. So these, you know, it might bleed a little bit, but you'll kind of see too where some cool stuff happens if the colors like actually bleed into each other. It's fine. But I really like this color combination, so that might be a cool one if I'm responding to that one a lot. So let's pick another one. Let's go to, I haven't used, maybe blue-violet. So blue-violet, and then yellow and orange. So for that one, let's go with, let's do the orange in the center. And then the yellow on the outer side. Oh, see, that's going to be a little too green for me, so that's why you don't mix on the palettes, I guess, but whatever. Okay, so then yellow, and then blue-violet. So we're going to make a quick blue-violet. Purple, 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 and blue. Okay, I like that. So let's see how that looks. Okay, cool. It's looking a little more purple than blue-violet, so I'm going to pop some more blue in there. There we go. That's better. That's better. Okay, so cool stuff. So that's that one there. And then another split complementary color combination we could use. Let's go to use violet, blue, green. Use maybe, no, let's do blue. Okay, so blue, red, orange, and yellow, orange. So blue, and that one's a little bit lighter, so I got more water, so that would be technically a tint. And then red orange and yellow orange because they're opposites. So let's do yellow orange first. And then red orange should be pretty easy. So the colors that are near each other on the color wheel, like the red orange and the yellow orange, those are going to have a strong relationship. They're going to seem like they sort of belong together. They're harmonizing a lot. And then pop, the other color is going to be a nice contrast. So these color schemes have a great opportunity to sort of work within contrast and harmony. Okay, so then let's go to blue violet, red violet, and yellow. Oh, I kind of already got yellow, so let's see, maybe okay, well, we could do yellow green. How about yellow green and violet and red? Okay, so let's do yellow green and then violet. Don't have any dark hues in the center on this row, so just looking at those, they're all kind of light. So violet and then red. Cool, pretty easy. Okay, and I like that, right? And so the other thing you want to do as you're sort of making these color combinations is really think about, what's sort of isolating this sort of one area. What are sort of the ideas or emotions that you get from those colors? I mean, this one seems like pretty like, I don't know, warm with all the red sort of dominating this space with little pops of purple in there. This is, they all have like different feels. So whatever the feel is you're wanting for your painting, you can go for that, especially if you're working like abstractly. Okay, so analogous color schemes are really like the easiest ones, I think, to maybe grasp. It's when you have three colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. Yellow, orange, 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 or red, violet, and violet. So with analogous, I'm going to start with yellow. And let's do yellow, orange. On the swatches here, you don't have to do them next to each other. And then we got yellow, green. The yellow, green is maybe going to seem, depending on which you use most of, it may seem the most standout of the colors, but it sort of depends on what you've got in terms of the overall sort of like color space. So that's cool. So let's do blue green for the next one. Blue green, blue, and blue violet. Okay, so then I'm going to do green, blue green. So blue green, let's do, that looks more green to me. So I'm going to add a bit more blue. And then I want to actually do blue, so let's do the blue on the outer edge. This is going to be a little watered down. Cool. And then the blue violet, pretty close to what I've got here. And that's lovely. So also to just show you how the different placement of the colors impacts how we read it, I'm going to use that same color scheme here and then sort of flip-flop where everything is. So this is the blue, blue violet, and blue green. So you can see essentially the same colors, but how they're placed on the in the sort of the micro composition that we have here is going to affect sort of what we're looking at. Okay, and then finally, I don't have a lot of warm colors here, so let's go to a warm set. So let's do red, violet, red, and red, orange, or red. Let's do red, red, orange, and orange. That'll be fast. So red, red, orange, and then orange. So I just popped in some yellow, shift that over really quick. So like that. Cool. Okay, so then the final one is the Triadic, which is where you have all the colors on the color wheel sort of at equal distance from each other on the color wheel. So this would be where we'd be using the blue, red, and yellow, so primary colors, that sort of triangle, and you start there and then you move however many spaces over for each of the colors, and you've got a new color combination. So we're going to start off with the most basic, right? So you've got our primary colors. These color schemes can be kind of tricky to work with because getting the colors to harmonize together, they're all equally distant, and so you have to think a lot about not only the hue that you're using, but also the values and the intensity, so that you can kind of work within making them harmonize. So if you have two hues, like if I'm working with like red and blue, if those are tints, that's going to be a lot easier to make those sort of objects that are painted in that color sort of seem like they belong together. Otherwise, at the same intensity, there's going to be a lot of competition in the composition overall. Okay, so then the next triadic composition we can use is green, blue, green, violet, and orange. So green, let's do a lighter green here. So green, and violet, and orange. Okay, and then the other one that you can try, so you can do any of the other intermediate colors as well. So if you go sort of equal distance, so then that means that we're going to use, let's see, so if we're going to do yellow green, we'd be using blue violet and red orange. So let's see if I can keep that in my head. So yellow green, oh no, that's fine, I'll just go with that. I didn't like that was the same sort of setup that I've got here. So let's go to blue violet. We'll do that on the outer rim. And then red orange. Okay, and then finally we'll do one of the ones where it's lighter, like I was saying. So let's flip-flop to take one of our pre-existing ones. So let's try red and blue really light, and then a yellow, an intense yellow. So first I'm going to clean my yellow. Again, I'm just wasting paint here, so this is why you don't want to mix on the palette. Oh well. And then let's do yellow all the way around. I notice I usually don't use like yellow and oranges a lot. I don't know what that's about, but just don't. I'm usually using cooler colors in my paintings. Alright, so let's use now a really light blue. And you can see at a tint, at less intensity, you can get more sort of like less competition between the colors. They can kind of harmonize a little bit more easily. So that's it for our color harmonies and color swatches. And you can do this 1,000 different times and come up with 1,000 different combinations. Probably the permutations on that are not exactly at 1,000. My math now is a little sketchy, but you can do tons of combinations with these. Changing the hues, which hues you're using in what combination, and then also changing them in terms of shades or tints, so using lights and darks in different combinations. And of course, keep in mind, if you choose one set of 3 colors, you can also do a full range of shades and tints with each of these colors that you've got. So each of those hues can be manipulated in some way and still come up with a sort of cohesive color scheme that you're using. Thanks for stopping by. And follow us at